Shulam Aleichem, everybody. Today's daf is daf Chof, and we start from the last line Yetasim Beis. Yesterday we finished almost in the middle of a sugya by the last couple of words in the last line. Lahakter Isha Lamali. Why does the Torah write Lahakter Isha when we talk about the Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim of the Kiyar? So the Gemara says, why? Now we're getting to Daf Chof. I would have thought that when do you need Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim from the Kiyar? I would have thought you only need it when you do Avodah Ma'akva Kapara, Lamashal Zrika, or Haktaras Koimetz, which is like the Zrika, right from a Mincha. So if you do that without Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim, then I would think that it's a puzzle. The carbon becomes puzzle. But if it's avoided loy makva kapara, for example, aktaras chalavim and demurim, then I would have thought that the carbon doesn't become puzzle. Since the carbon doesn't become puzzle, I would have thought the Yinam Chuyiv to be mekadosh Yadayim V'Reglayim kamash malon lahakter isha, that even if you're only doing avodas that are not ma'akiv, the kapara, still you need Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim. Okay, so the Gemara, Ki Asi Ravdimi Amar Rabbi Yoel Boye Ilfa. The Shaila was as follows: L'divrei Omer Ein Lina Me'eles BeKiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim Ma'ikir Ma'oshi Paslu. Okay, according to Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, who holds that if a kohen doesn't leave the Hazari, he comes in one morning, he washes his hands and feet by the kiyar, as long as he stays there, he's good to go. He doesn't have to wash it again the next morning. If he stays up all night, whether he does the avodah constantly or even if he takes a break, Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon holds you don't need it. So the Gemara asks, what about the meikir itself? Right? The meikir, does it become pasal balina if you leave it in the kiyar overnight? Do we say that what's the meikir for? It's for Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim. And Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim gufayu lepasal balina, right? The Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim, once the kohen is niskadish from the meikir, right, and he has that kedusha from the kiyar on him, it doesn't become pasal balina. So if the Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim itself doesn't have a psolina, so ibazoi, the meikir shouldn't have psolina either. Or maybe since it's in the klisharis is mekadosh it, anything that hits the klisharis is automatically pasal balina. He was pashed that just like Rebbe and Rabbi Elazar and Reb Shimon have a machlokes whether the kohen himself needs to do a Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim again the next morning, so too they have a machlokes by meikir whether the meikir is pasal if you leave it overnight. Rebbe, as he said, Rebbe, Rabami said this, Rabami, Ato Omer Kain, you're saying that Ilfa concluded that Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, according to Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, the meikir doesn't become pasul. What do you mean? We have a memra Mishmei de Ilfa who says Kir Shleishikam be'erev mekadesh memenu laboides lailo ulamachar eina mekadesh. We have a member from Ilfa who says that you're not allowed to be mekadesh with meikir that you didn't put into the bar, right? They used to lower the kir into the bar and connect it, make sure there's a hashaka with the mayan inside the bar with the spring of water. So this way it wasn't possible balina. But what about shaloi shikay be'erev? You didn't put it into the bar, then mekadesh u'menu lavodas laila. So as long as it's still laila, you can use it for Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim if you want to do aktar sevarim or imurim. But the next morning it's possible balina. So we have mamish the exact opposite conclusion from Ilfa. Which means the loitzarech lekiddush doesn't need it. Oidilma pastel balina, which is not like you just said v'lei pashat lan, and it wasn't pashat to us. Marka pashat lemifshet, and you're all of a sudden you're telling me that Rabbi is saying B'Shem Rabbi Yoel that Ilfa was pashat, that it's okay according to Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. Over here it's not so pashat. Over here there's a shaila in what he meant, whether he was pashat b'chalal this shaila. According to Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, it could be that even though the kohen is okay and he doesn't have to do a new Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim. It doesn't have to do a new Kiddush Yadayim V'Reglayim in the morning, but the Mekir itself is possible blina, says the Gemara Toshama. Okay, so let's see if we can be Poshe the Shaila from the following Mishnah in Yuma. Ben Kotten was a Kohen Gadol, his name was Ben Kotten. Shnei Moser Dad Lakir. He made 12 spouts for the Kir. Right? For the 12 Kehanim that were Oisik and the Carbon Tamid, in the morning he wanted them to be able to wash all at the same time, not to wait. So Afu Asa Muchni Lakir also made a Muchni, which is a contraption, an apparatus, a wheel that you're able to lower the Kir into the bar and pull it back up in the morning. So it doesn't become Pasabalina. My lover Blazer Reb Shimon. This mission is Reb Blazer Reb Shimon. We're going to prove in a moment how we know it's Reb Blazer Reb Shimon. But you see, Reb Blazer Reb Shimon holds that it is Pasabalina. The Meikir itself is not like the Kohen who's not Pasabalina once he's Mekadesh Daim Reglaim. There, the Meikir, you do have to lower into the bar, otherwise it becomes Pasabalina. So Gemara says, no, Rebbe. No, that Mishnah is really Rebbe. The Gemara, not so fast. The Reisha of Blazer Reb Shimon, Seif and Amir Blazer Reb Shimon. The Reisha over there, the Mishnah previously, in Yuma over there before this Mishnah says, Tiktani Reisha, Boloi Eitzel Poroi Uporoi Amid Ben Ulam V'Lam Mizbeach. We talk about the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. He had to do smicha, he had to vidoy on his par. So where was the par standing? It was standing on the tzafan side of the Azara, and the tzafan side of the Azara had three different zones. One is right behind the Mizbeach. One was to the side of the Mizbech closer to the Ulam, to the Heichal, and from the other side closer to the Ezra's Kahanim and the Ezra's Yisrael. So the shaila is which zone, right? Behind the Mizbeach, closer to the Heichal or closer to the Ezra's Kahanim? Where was he standing? So Mishnah says, Paro Oimid ben Ulam ala Mizbeach, Roishay Ladarim, V'panav L'mayrav. V'hakoyin Oimid b'mizrach V'panav L'mayrav. But Akopanim, what do you see from here? You see that the par was in the tzafan side of the Hazara between the Ulam and the Mizbeach. Between the Ulam and the Mizbeach. Man shamat l'da'omer ben Ulam v'Mizbeach tzafan. Who says that that zone is a kosher tzafan zone for the par? Reb Blazer Reb Shimon, the Tanya, Ezu tzafan, Mekir Mizbeach tzafani, v'at kois lazar tzafani, keneged kol arkoi, keneged kol Mizbeach kulei tzafan, di Reb Yehuda. Reb Yehuda holds that the entire So Rabbi Yoel holds very specifically. He holds that the tzafin extends only from the Kir HaMizbeach and the Kir HaZara. So let's say the Kir HaMizbeach is right here. So whatever is parallel to the Kir HaMizbeach, that entire section is tzafin. But to the sides of the Mizbeach, that's not okay. Okay, says the Gemara, Divrei Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Now Rabbi Blazer Reb Shimon Moisef, Af Ben Ulam V'Lamizbeach. He says even Ben Ulam V'Lamizbeach, which is to the side of the Mizbeach, closer to the Ulam. That whole section also is considered tzafin. That's kosher. Rabbi Moisef Af Makam Dris Yisrael Kahanim. The side outside, which is closer to the outside of the Mizbeach, that's also tzafin. As long as it's the tzafin side of the Azara, meaning basically the whole section, the whole tzafin wall. Right? We had these rooms called Beis HaChalifa, which we store the knives. Khalifa means a knife, a chalif. And so, like, there was a section from the Beis Khalifas which led literally to the side of the Ulam and the Heichal. That side of the tzafan wall was off limits. You couldn't, according to everybody, couldn't do the smicha, the vidoy over there. Okay, but Akaponim, who holds Ben Ulam V'Lam Mizbeach is a kosher zone? That's Reb Blazer Reb Shimon, and he's in the Reisha. So if he's in the Reisha, he's also in the Seifa, and the Seifa he says that you have to lower the kir into the bar to prevent it from becoming pasalbalina. So you see, Reb Blazer Reb Shimon holds that there's a psolina by the Meikir. So we have a Tizber, Reb Blazer Reb Shimon, he V'loi Rebbe. What do you mean? It's only Reb Blazer Reb Shimon, not Rebbe? What do you mean? Hashta Rebbe ad Rebbe ad Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Moisef. If Rebbe is Moisef and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda ad Rabbi Blazer Reb Shimon Loi Moisef, you don't think he's Moisef and Rabbi Blazer Reb Shimon, which means he agrees to Rabbi Blazer Reb Shimon as well. The Ben Ulam V'Lam Mizbeach is kosher. If he says that even toward the outside of the Mizbeach, from the Mizbeach to the Ezra's Kahanim is kosher, certainly whatever is inside, right, deeper inside Ben Ulam V'Lam Mizbeach, beyond the Mizbeach over there, Ben Ulam V'Lam Mizbeach is also kosher, like Rabbi Blazer Reb Shimon. So it could be it's Rebbe. So the Gemara says, no, not Nochi Kamrina. If the Mishnah is Rebbe, that says that the entire tzafan wall of the Azara is kosher, Look, Makam Drisis Ragla Kahana, Makam Drisis Ragla Israel. Why didn't the Mishnah tell you the bigger Chiddush? That you can even do it by the Makam Drisis Ragla Kahana, Drisis Ragla Israel. Elamai, or Blaz Reb Shimon, if you Gemara, if it's Reb Shimon, look, Memekir Mizbeach Tzfani at Kois Lazar Tzfani. Yeah, so why doesn't he mention the Kir Mizbeach? Like that's the ideal place. Elamai Slach Lameimish and Chulsh the Kohen Gadol. Why doesn't he mention the ideal place? L'chayr should be doing it over there. Ulam Mizbeach is also kosher, but certainly the ideal location, the ideal zone has been Ulam Mizbeach. So why doesn't he say it over there? Because Kohen Gadol had to do all the avodas of Yom Kippur, and it was running back and forth, changing his clothing, tefillas, and kiddush na'am v'raglayim. Yeah, the machta, the band, the kodesh hakadoshim. Yeah, there's a lot of stress, a lot of effort. So it's chulsha. So we want him to be as close as he can, as close as possible to the ulam. So chulsh the Kohen Gadol. So Hanami could be its Rebbe, and really Rebbe could have told you that the entire tzafan wall of the Azar is kosher, right? Even closer to the Ezra's Kahanim. But the reason why it mentions by Ulam al-Azbeich is from the Kohen Gadol, because it's more convenient. You're saving effort to the Kohen Gadol because he's near the Ulam. Okay, so Mameli, you don't have a raya that this is Reb Elazar Reb Shimon. If you don't have this is Reb Elazar Reb Shimon, so we don't know whether Reb Elazar Reb Shimon holds Meikir is possible. Okay. It says the Gemara, Omer Rabbi Yoel, Kiddush Yodav v'Ragla l'Trumas Hadeshin. What happens if the Kohen came early? Yeah, and the Trumas Hadeshin was the first avodah in the Beis Hamikdash every morning, and that avodah was already kosher before Alois. You could do that avodah mikrois hagever, yeah, from when the rooster crows, yeah, crows hagever. Anyway, my kids would say that's a dad joke. Kiddush Yodav v'Ragla l'Trumas Hadeshin. So he was mekadosh yadayim v'raglayim before Alois for Trumas Hadeshin for that avodah. L'machar, so meaning once Alois comes. Ein etzarach lekadish. He doesn't have to do it again. Why should kiddush metchilas avoida? Because he was already mekadosh metchilas ha'avoida. So the Gemara says, Laman, who is this Tana? Who is this? According to which Tana is Rabbi Yochanan saying this? Either Rabbi Amar Pas Lalina. What according to Rabbi? Lamachar. Once Alois hits, you got to do it again, right? Begishtam. We saw Rabbi learns it out from Begishtam. Either Reb Elazar Reb Shimon or Amar Ein Tzarach L'Kaddish Afil Mekam V'Dasar Yamim B'Voyam, right? Once you come in, you're good to go for the rest of eternity until you leave. So Ibazoi. So according to who is Rabbi Yochanan saying that Ein Tzarach L'Kaddish from Kreis HaGever till the morning till Alois you don't have to be Kaddish. If it's Reb Elazar Reb Shimon, it's not just that time frame; it's Adasar Yamim. And if it's Rebbe, you're not allowed to. Amar Abaye Lo'ilam LeRebbe V'Lina de Rabbanan. Really, psolina is the Rabbanon. And once it's the first avoid, it's anyways the first avoid of that day. It's just before Alois. So there is moed the Chachamim weren't geyser. Rav Amar Leilam Reb Elazar Reb Shimon. It's either Reb Elazar Reb Shimon. V'ro Reb Yochanan Devarav betchilas avoida v'lei b'seif avoida. Really, Reb Elazar Reb Shimon holds Adasar Yamim. It's true. Rabbi Yochanan only agreed to Reb Elazar Reb Shimon in the time frame of Mekrois Hagever, which is the Trumas Hadeshin, from when he does the Trumas Hadeshin before Alois till after Alois. That's the only time frame he agrees to Reb Elazar Reb Shimon on, but not Adasar Yamim. So if the Kohen who does the Trumas Hadeshin, right, he did the Avodah, or he started doing the Avodah, and the other Kohanim heard him. They were already in the Azara, presumably, and they came and ran. Here you see, very interestingly, right? They were Mekadesh, Yudayim V'Reglaim and Akir, but the Kohen of the Trumas Hadeshin wasn't. So you have Chayra split over here, right? They're all in the Azara from the night before, and yet the Kohen who did the Trumas Hadeshin, he doesn't have to wash his hands and feet again once Alois sits. But the other Kohanim who came running, they do. According to Abaye, he holds Mikrois Hagever Atzafar Lepaslalina Hamani Rebbe. So the other Kohanim do have to wash their hands and feet when Alois hits. You know why? Because they didn't wash it Mikrois Hagever. They came running now. But this Kohen who was doing Trumas Hadeshin, he washed it Mikrois Hagever, so he doesn't have to. So according to Abaye, that explains the split in Rebbe, that Rebbe holds Mikrois Hagever Atzafar. You don't need to, because it's only the Rabbanon. The Rabbanon weren't geyser for that. But the other Kohanim who weren't Mekadesh Yadayim V'Ragleim, Mishas Kreis Hagever, they have to once Haloi sits. El Rava, the Mekal Mekablas Reb Shimon, Avol Reb Kreis Hagever Tzafra Pastalina, Hamani. If he holds that that according to Rebbe, Avada, even the Kreis Hagever Tzafra, it's Pastalina. Hamani, I Rebbe Pastalina. I Rebbe Reb Shimon, who Amar Fil Makana the Sermon Tzach Lekadesh. So who is this Tana? If it's Reb Shimon, why do the other Kahanim have to wash? They were already in the Azara from the day before, and there's no Psalina. According to Rebbe, you have to wash it from Alois, even though he washed it before Kreis Hagever to do Trumas Hadeshin. So the Reb Shimon, you're assuming that the Kahanim became running, right? When they heard the Kohen who was doing the Trumas Hadeshin, you're assuming those Kahanim were already there from before, so you're asking why did they have to be Mekadesh Yadayim v'Raglayim? No, it's called, we're talking about Kahana Charati, they just came, they didn't do any Avodah b'Meshech the Laila, and therefore they have to wash it now for the first time. So the Gemara, Boilo, Yitzia Ma'ash HaToil b'Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim. What about Yitzia? Kohen walks out. Imtim Tzeloim Lina Loi Pasla. If you're going to tell me Lina doesn't pasel, maybe the Loi Parish, because he didn't come out of the Azara, he didn't leave. So Mila is not Masiach Dasel. Yitzia the Parish Asucha Masach Daitei, Oidom Lakim de Biyod Lachzel Masach. Right, the person leaves, the Kohen leaves the Azara, right? He's Masiach Das from the Avodah. So now Yudayim Askoni, and it could have been that he touched something and he asked him to Mekadesh Yadayim v'Raglayim again when he comes into the Azara. Or maybe not. Kivin the Biyod Lachzer. Right, his Das is to come back. He can always come back and do the Avodah still. So therefore he is careful. That's the Shaila. Yitzia. Is Yitzia Mavatal, the Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim, to necessitate a new Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim when he comes back inside. Toshama. Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglav v'Nitmu. Matbilon ve'ein tzarech lekadesh. So here we're talking about Tameh. Now, what happened that he became Tameh? So we're talking about Tameh Derabanan, Pigol, Noiser, Metamen Asayidayim, it's Exer Derabanan. Anybody who touches it, a Noiser, a piece of Noiser that was, you had a carbon that wasn't eaten on time, that Noiser, you have to burn it. Every carbon has a certain time frame they have to be eaten by, right? A certain time. So any Noiser, Pigol, we know what Pigol is, right? The kind that a machshava to eat it, chutz l'zmanoi. Okay, so those tumas are only with the Rabbanon, and the Kohen touched it. So that tumah, is that mavatul, the Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim or not? Says the Gemara, Kiddush Yadav v'Raglav v'Nitmu, matbilon v'ein tzarech lekadesh. It's not matbilon, you just teufel it. Yeah, like Tvila. But you don't have to be Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim again. Yotzu, harehen b'Kiddush. But if you just left the Azara in B'Kiddush Asan, so Imamish, you have a Mefurish Braisa, that's Poisha the Shaila, that Yitzia is not Mavatal Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim. The Gemara says, no, but here you're talking about Yatsu Yadav, like him a boil, like he can boil Yatsu Kol Gufay Mai. There, the Yadayim, he stuck the Yadayim, his hands out of the Azara. That's different. Avada, that doesn't need a new Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim. Here we're talking about the Shaila really is Yatsu Kol Gufay. His whole guf leaves the Azara. He mamish walks out. That's the Shaila. Is that Mavatal, the Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim? Toshamash, Lo Yirochetz Yadayim v'Raglayim, Keitzad. Try to be poiser. This Shaila from the following brisa. Toshmash Lo Yirochetz Yadayim v'Raglayim. Keitzad. What's the halacha? Somebody who does the avodah, if he didn't do Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim, the Emma says he's B'chuyiv Misa, but Lo Yisamusu, the Torah says, right? Passes the avodah. So the Gemara says, what does that mean? Mekadesh b'kli shoros b'fnim. The ultimate Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim is when you go into the Azara and you wash from the kier, or even if you do it from a kli shoros, you add water in a kli shoros, that's also good. But what if a Kiddush b'kli shoros b'chutz? What if you took the kli shoros outside the Azara? You did it outside. B'kli chol b'fnim. You took a kli chol inside and you washed in the Azara. Or you were toivel in a mikvah. And then he did the avodah b'daseh psula. That's considered shaloi rachas yadayim v'raglayim. A mikveh doesn't help. You mamish have to do kiddush yadayim v'raglayim to the kier, the way the Torah prescribes. Time at the kiddush b'kli sharos b'chutz. The course wants to be medayik from the brisa. The only problem is because he's mekadesh with the kli sharos b'chutz. Ha kiddush b'fnim v'yotza. Right. The issue is he went b'chutz with the kli sharos. But if let's use mekadesh inside and he walked outside, avidasek sheirus, he can be patient from this diak that Yitzia is not Mavatal Kiddush Yadayim v'Raglayim. Says the Gemara, no. Dilma Kiddush b'kli sharos b'chutz. Heichadam yikun the apik yodav labar for Kiddush, and that's what was Mekadesh. So Kiddush b'fnim v'yotz the apik yodav labar k'sheira. Ahavu yotz kol guf at the boilach. The Gemara is saying, no. The whole brisa really could be talking about where It's kiddush b'klishares b'chutz, which means you took the klishares or you stuck it outside. You're standing inside the azar, you stuck it outside. That's how you washed your hands and feet. Okay, so now you can be medayik that if you washed it inside with klishares and then you stuck your hands and feet out, then you're not mevatel that kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. Okay, no problem. The Gemara doesn't have an issue with saying that if you just stick your hands out of the azara, that's not mevatel kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. The whole issue really is if it's yatsa kol gufay. That's the shaila. So clearly you see that it's mevatel the kiddush yadayim v'raglayim if you walk out for a little bit. Amalei. So Papa said, no, it's not a rye for the brisa either. He went to relieve himself. So avada there, it's mevatel the kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. But if you just go out to shmooze with a friend who says it's mevatel kiddush yadayim v'raglayim, says the Gemara, if that's what the brisa is talking about, we read even before a brisa that says that. It says, you know, ton of other mafarish, it's not a kasha. Here, the brisa says it in a headline, and then it goes into detail, it is mafarish it. So again, we don't have a raya either way. We don't have a raya whether Yitzia is mevatel the kiddush yadayim v'raglayim to necessitate a new kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. Says the Gemara Toshema. Okay, final attempt to prove this shaila. Para. What about a para aduma? We know the para aduma. The avodah is done at the Har Mishcha, the Har Azaisim. You burn it over there outside of Yerushalayim. Now, when he does the avodah, does he have to go and wash his hands by the kiyur and then come out? Yes. You have to go inside the azar. You have to wash your hands and feet, and then go outside and do the avodah in the para. Rabbi Yoel doesn't matter. You can do it outside. You can do it with even a cup of earthenware. Okay, klichoil as well. Okay, but Lamaisa, Rabbi Yosef holds that the kiddush yadayim v'raglayim happens inside. Then you walk outside. So you see, it's not mevatel because you're doing the para, the avodah of the para outside after you're mekadosh yadayim v'raglayim inside the azara. So it must be that you're still retaining its kedusha. No, there avada, especially if you hold it hesach das, you're not being masiach das when you walk outside because you're literally washing it for the avodah sapara. So certainly that's not a shaila. That's different. Where's the yochi lamali the mekadosh, right? If it's true that the avodah of the para duma, Gemara understands also it's a kula, so we're makel over there. So for makel over there, why didn't kiddush all together? Gemara says ke'en avodah panim. Still, we still require you to do whatever you do in the panim as much as we can do. Ke'en avodah panim. Still, we want you to be mekadosh yadayim v'raglayim. But again, it's not a raya that once you're yotzi, you can come back into the azar to do the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash after you went out. By para, anyways, the whole avodah is outside. So the whole avodah is outside. So we're not going to mind if you're mekadosh inside and then you go outside, even if it's this battle, but still, the paraduma is avodah kala, so it's not so chomer. But to come back inside after you left, that is a boya deli ifshata. Okay, we don't have a raya either way. We stop over here. That's an aboya. Actually, let's go a little weiter. Says the Gemara weiter. Boilu. Noch a shaila. Tuma mao shetel lekiddush yadayim v'raglayim. Now we're talking about yitzia. You walk out of the azar. That's mevatel kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. What about tuma? You became tamei. Is that mevatel kiddush yadayim v'raglayim? Now you need a new kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. Imtim tzeloimer yitzia loy pasla. Okay, even if you'll tell me the yitzia doesn't passel, that's the gavra chazi, right? He can come in any time, any minute to do the avodah. He's chazi la'avodah. Havalacha the gavra loy chazi because he became tamei asucha masach daitai. Maybe it's masiach das from the kiddush yadayim v'raglayim from before, and he would have to do it again. Oidil mekimin the hader chazi, since once he toivels, he can again do the avodah. Dok level masach daitai. Toshema, Araya, Kiddush Yodov V'Raglav V'Nitma'u, Madbilan V'Ein Tzarech L'Kadish. So again, it's klar, right? You go toivel, and you don't need to do a new Kiddush Yadayim V'Raglayim. Gemara says Nitma Yodov L'Meboilan, Ki Meboilan Nitma Kol Gufay. If it's just the Yadayim that became Tamei, just like Yitzia, right? We had a Shaila Kol Gufay. Yadayim is never a Shaila. That's not Mavatal it. Okay. Gemara says kol gufay typically keep the boiler mavad erev shemesh asuchel masach daite. What do you mean if he became tamei? He has to wait till the evening. He can't do any avodah till the evening. So avad is masiach das, right? Because he's not going to be doing the avodah anytime soon. He can't. Gemara says no. You're right. If he still needs erev shemesh and it's in the morning, then he's masiach das for sure. He needs to do kiddush yadayim v'reglaim when he comes back inside. But what if he was what if he became nit? If he was nitma right before shkiyas hachama? So as soon as he's toivel, pretty much a couple of minutes later he can do the avodah. So maybe there is not masiach das and it's not mavadal kiddush yadayim v'reglaim. So the Gemara Toshama try to attempt at least to prove it from here, right? Final attempt. Para. We saw this earlier by Yitzia. Right? You have to go into the Azora to do Kiddush Yadayim v'Reglaim and then come out to the Har Mishcha by the Har Zeisim and do the Avodah, the Parah Adum over there. Or, no, you could do Bachutz with anything. Gemara says, right? By Parah we know, it's very interesting, that the Chachamim Darshan, that the Kohen who does the Avodah, the Parah Aduma, right, he could be a Tful Yom. It doesn't have to be completely Torah. The Kohen doesn't have to be Mamish Torah. We learned from a Pasuk, we saw it earlier in the Gemara, right? The Torah says Torah twice, mashma that he's not exactly Torah. Okay, so he can be a Tvul Yom. All right? Tvul Yom is kosher for the avodah of the Parah Aduma. Now the Tzdukim held no. It has to be mamish a kohen that's mamish Torah. So what did the Chachamim do? The Chachamim were metama the kohen before he did the avodah of the Parah Aduma, and they made him toivel. He was toivel, and now he was Tvul Yom. All he lacked was harav shemesh, and that's how he burnt the parah. That not metamen hoyu a kohen aserfes a parah matbilan oisoi lohitzim melibet shel Tzdukin shayoyim berov shemesh oisanasis. They said, no, you need to be mamish completely Torah, a kohen that already had Erev Shemesh. And the Chachamim said, no, you don't need Erev Shemesh. And they would mamish actively be matama somebody and be toivel him, and then have him do the streifas hapara, even if there's no Erev Shemesh, lohoitzim dafka, lohoitzim l'mishal tzedukin, that argue with them. But either way, shmamina, you see from here, lepasla batoma. It needs Kiddush Yadayim v'Reglaim, but after he did Kiddush Yadayim v'Reglaim, they were matamim. So mamish a klor raya, that Tumah is not mavat l'kiddush yadayim v'reglaim. Says the Gemara, Shani parah holo tvul yom milay pasal ba. No. Parah is different. Why? You see that a tvul yom is allowed to do that avodah. So the avodah is avodah kala. So for an avodah kala, right, it's not a chomerdik avodah like the avodah in Beis HaMikdash. So therefore, Tumah wouldn't be mavatal. But who's to tell you that if you want to go do the avodah Beis Hamikdash after you became tamei, that you don't need a new kiddush yadayim v'reglaim? You can't prove it from parah. What is the yachi lamali l'mekadosh? If it's taka such a avodah kala, why do b'chalal need kiddush yadayim v'reglaim? Ke'en avodah binin. Yeah, you try to do whatever you do for a regular avodah, you want to do that for the parah at least as well. But again, there's no proof that that tumah is mevatel kiddush yadayim v'reglaim or not. So we don't have a proof for yitzia or Tuma. Okay, we'll stop over here.